Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at my Alt F4 League race that we run on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. This is far and away the best race I've ever had, both in this league and really in any league under the Sunday Night Skippy umbrella. So, super excited to show this one to you, and really, let's just get straight to it.
The track temp is 85. The air temp is 80 Fahrenheit. 10 minutes. Alright, Chris, get ready. Go, go, go!
So we're starting P3 in the heat race. Had a phenomenal qualifying effort with a 128.333. 3, 4, 5, 6. We were all really tight in qualifying time, as you might expect.
Clear right.
Jeffrey and Leo certainly on another level within this league, so we're fighting for P3 as you feel like you're winning the race. So starting P3 was fantastic for the heat. Got a really good getaway. Trying to stay tight with Jeffrey. You know, my nerves are definitely involved when starting P3 in the heat race with some of the guys behind me like Jason, Mazza, George and Dellis, guys like Wright. I mean, Hoops. There's a lot of guys that are super quick that are all right here together, so felt really good starting P3 from previous races this week. Really hesitant getting into the hairpin there. Try not to have a massive lockup and, you know, shoot through that thing or anything incredibly stupid right out the gate. So as normal, you know, trying to settle in, get the first lap behind us, get the tires tightened up a little bit, feeling good about everything, warm everything up. But yeah, I was feeling some serious butterflies when I was sitting on the grid to start this race P3. For our format, we've got a 10-minute heat race. I like to think of it as a sprint race because it really does feel like a sprint race, followed by a 40-minute feature race, where the feature race is fuel limited, so we are required to make a pit stop. A little bit of strategy comes into play there, but frankly not a ton, at least not for me. So doing my best to just not make any mistakes. This is Daytona 24 week as well. I'm participating in that race actually later today, along with some guys that I've been working with for the last month or so on that race to prep. And I think there's a lot of guys that are in this race tonight that are also in that same boat. So I don't have a lot of time here at Okayama. I know a lot of guys that I'm racing with also didn't get a ton of time this week, so really just using the heat race to get a little bit of experience and just feel confident and comfortable. I can tell you very clearly that having Jason so close in my rear view was not making me confident or comfortable in any way, shape, or form. But I was feeling pretty good to be this close to Decker still. He's super quick, certainly trying to keep in his draft as much as possible and just put in some laps. I wasn't sure in the moment why he went in. I was almost going to say something about how he disappeared there for a little while, but thought maybe it would clear itself up pretty quick. But I don't know if he noticed that he was having some connectivity issues or what, but and I don't remember him jumping the start or anything, but yeah, he kind of jumped in the pits there pretty quick after lap 2.
1.25 off the pace. You're 2/10 off the pace in sector 3.
I'm hoping that you guys can hear Jim a little bit better. I think in previous videos he's been super quiet on the recordings, but obviously I can hear him very well in my ear, so hopefully I've got the balance between myself and him pretty good. So yeah, sitting P2. Definitely feeling good about that. There's more of a gap at 4 and 5 than frankly I would have expected. Not making any stupid mistakes, just trying to settle in and feel good about what I'm doing. Not really attacking this hairpin, just trying not to do anything where I would, you know, give Jason a nice open opportunity to make an overtake.
Time to get defensive, mate.
I don't know why Jim is so aggressive about defensiveness. I'm just. Maybe there needs to be a little influence, I guess, over him, because yeah, with the heat race, just trying to put the laps in. being able to find these mid to low 28-second laps definitely felt really good. I noticed in practice that I was sitting in a pretty good spot. I was sitting around P3, P4 pretty early in the session. I think by the end I was somewhere in the P6-ish range. I don't know whether people were going for qualifying laps or what, but you know, I think that's kind of a norm towards the end of an open practice session before the race starts. But I felt really good. I was hitting like, you know, 28.3, 28.4 pretty consistently. I think my lowest was like a 28.1. I was somewhat getting chased by Leo in practice, and that just made me really focus up and just nail a lap. So yeah, I felt really good about where I was sitting through practice, but really had no idea what to expect in the race. Felt like I was overachieving for sure at this point, being P2. And even in, you know, the world where Decker didn't pit early and I'm sitting P3, potentially I'm still feel very much like I'm overachieving, and just nerves are high. Nerves are very high at this point. So as we start the final lap, I am honestly kind of having these moments of, am I supposed to be here? I just, even starting the race P3, I did not expect to even finish P3. I think my normal MO is to make a couple micro mistakes or even some larger mistakes, and especially early, being in these positions. I think we saw it a couple weeks ago at Long Beach. I think I started that race P3, the heat race, and just the pressure. I'm feeling the pressure. I think in that scenario I had Adam on my tail for quite a while, and it's not like he forced me into a mistake. I don't even know if he was trying to necessarily, but it just, I feel it. I feel that pressure and crack under pressure in that case, and it's almost like I was expecting to do the same in this race. And I found myself as we're on the last lap in the heat race, like, how were we here? It just didn't feel like it was the way it was going to go or should go. But I think that's just, again, like we talked about last week in last week's race, it's that mental dilemma of just trying to focus on the positives and, you know, do your job. So yeah, to come around in the heat race, finish P2, having Jason, you know, within a second or so on me of the entire race, feeling super confident and feeling really good about that heat race result. So yeah, kind of wild. We're going to start the feature race P2, see what happens.
Well done, Chris. Great drive. That's a podium. 40 minutes. P2. Get ready, mate. It's hammer time. Green, green, green.
When Jim said P2 right there, my heart sunk. It kind of hit. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to start P2 in this race. Strange. Not sure if you noticed, but I did take a look over at Leo before the race started. I thought, oh, you know, I should admire his livery, being so close to him at the start of a race. That's a first, and yeah, definitely something that I was happy about. So, got a good getaway at the start of the feature race. First thing that goes through my mind as we kind of get going here, tires are cold again, and it's something I truly have to remind myself of every time we go from a heat race to a feature race. I just ran 10 minutes in anger where the tires are warm and sticking and doing all the things, and all of a sudden, you know, I need to back out early into corners and just hit the reset button mentally. So I was definitely telling myself that, I think even out loud at one point, and as you can see there, make a little mistake, and thankfully didn't do anything incredibly stupid. Just literally telling myself out loud, like, hey dummy, like, relax, you know, we're starting a new race, tires are cold, settle back in, and let's see what we can get done here. So you'll see that as we go through the first couple laps, really just hitting the reset button and remembering where we are, what the circumstances are again. One thing I was thinking about, as you see me shake my head a little bit and not having the greatest first lap there, but one thing I was thinking about was, so sitting P2, I don't know in the moment where Decker was starting in the feature race. I figured he probably made up some time in the heat, but I figured at some point we'd see him you know, advance up and basically try to take P2 or P1 away. I was thinking about him a little bit. Another person that was on my mind, I was thinking about Adam. He's also super quick. Maz is another person. I didn't see them. Obviously, my relative at this point, so I wasn't sure where they were starting. But just trying to keep an eye on that and see where, you know, where these guys show up, what the gaps look like over, you know, the next 10 minutes or so as the race kind of develops. And I was also very curious to see how aggressive Jason might be early in this race. I thought in the heat race he was pretty conservative. He never really, you know, stuck his nose out there and tried too hard to make an overtake. So I was wondering if he was going to try to jump at that opportunity early in this race, given that those opportunities didn't really come from in the heat race as I got more comfortable. So I was very curious to see how he would approach the feature race, and so that was also kind of on my mind as we started the feature. And I could definitely get a feel here. I mean, Jason's obviously very close. Jason's obviously very fast, and just wasn't sure, you know, what he was going to do. So trying to do my best not to look up. I don't know why Jim thinks he's going to go away. You can see me shake my head a little bit in the moment, like, what are you talking about? He's clearly not going anywhere. So yeah, just trying to do my job here. There's definitely a brief moment here where I looked at the relative and saw it was 0.6, and I thought, man, if I could open this up to a second, that would be huge. If I could make that happen, you could see I pushed it a little hard into turn 1 there on the exit. Just thinking, man, if I could get that to 0.1 and get him out of my draft, that could really change the game here in the race. But obviously very early, long ways to go, but when you see that opportunity, it's hard not to want to take it. I was questioning my brake bias choice at this point. I had moved it back, actually. I moved it to 56% to try to take a little bit of the stress off the front wheels, because it has been so easy for me to lock the fronts up this week. So I've been running 56 through the heat and the feature, and for a minute here I was thinking about making a change there, but then kind of realized that would be pretty stupid considering I just ran a 10-minute heat race pretty well and left it at 56, so decided to just keep it there. One thing you'll notice this week, you won't see my overlay. I've made a couple changes with my setup, actually. I got lucky and I've been able to completely convert to Open XR as my VR framework. And I found a program called Open Kneeboard, predominantly designed for flight sims, but works really well for sim racing as well. It uses OpenXR, and you can bring in windows from your machine into VR. And so for me, I have like a JRT overlay that you guys have seen in the past, and I was able to actually put it like almost exactly on my steering wheel. So I have a button mapped on the wheel where I can pop that thing open for a second, see it, you know, if I need to look for fuel or whatever it is that I'm looking for in the moment, and then hit the button again, get to go away, and just refocus on the race. So you won't see my head going up as much as you may have in the past, and that's why. So super happy to have eliminated Steam and all of that from my VR experience and streamlined it a little bit. So kind of noticing, you know, I've made a couple mistakes there, had a slightly big moment, and I'm looking at my relative. There was definitely a moment that went through my mind where I thought, man, I'm holding these guys up, you know, and I can see 3 behind me in the relative. We're all within, you know, second and a half, 3 cars. Making a couple mistakes, some doubt sliding in, and really just the mental exercise of trying to push that aside and just, again, focus on the job. It's you feel like a broken record saying that, but the truth is that's how you feel. You're in the middle of the race. You're really just trying to hit your marks. You're trying not to make any incredible mistakes. And just do the best you can, you know. And it sounds simple, but the truth of the matter it is simple. It really is that simple. Executing is completely different, of course, but the thought process and what you're trying to accomplish is extremely straightforward. Just hit your marks, focus on what you can control, and just keep moving forward. Definitely feeling the pressure. I mean, Jason's been putting it on the entire time. John, JR behind, you know, all 3 fast dudes, all within 2 seconds. Feeling the pressure for sure. So.
Okay, Chris, hold your nerve. Just keep it smooth. No
Jim had some pretty good advice right there. A lot of it is nerve. But yeah, one thing that I think I did do pretty well in this race, you know, when I did have a lap where I made a big mistake like that and had a low 29 or a high 28, I seemed to just be able to focus back up on the next lap and put in like a mid to low 28. Didn't compound the mistakes as much as maybe I have in the past, or it just, I don't know, there's something about it last night that just felt a lot better. So being able to put a good lap together after a bad one certainly doesn't replace the mistake, but it makes it a lot easier to digest it. The one thing I was hoping for here is that Jason and John would start battling a little bit. That's, I mean, you know, when you're in the car and you're racing, being able to look in your rear view and see two guys going at it is pretty much the best thing you can imagine, right? As soon as Jason's focus has to go from, you know, his windshield, or, you know, his helmet in our case with these open wheel cars, and his focus has to shift to his rear view and what's behind him, his side views, however he's doing it, whatever, it changes the game completely for you in front.
That lap was at 128.69.
It gives me more freedom to feel like I can focus forward, not have to pay as much attention to the guys behind me, and that really, for me, changes the game. I do it in most races. We get to a stage of the race where it's time to, you know, turn off the rear view and just completely focus forward. And anytime you can do that, whether you physically turn the thing off or you just mentally turn it off and just focus forward, it just makes everything so much more, you know, consistent. So we're getting close to pit stops, and so I'm starting to think about, you know, what lap to come in. I know I've looked at my overlay a few times at this point. I've also noticed Decker has joined the relative. He's only about a second and a half or so behind at this point. I don't know what happened to Jason. Maybe he went into the pits already, but he kind of disappeared for me. So having a second and a half gap, certainly feeling good about that. Realizing Jeffrey's making his way through that group, which frankly is helping me out. I mean, they're going to be a little slower getting overtaken. So I'm kind of thinking two things here. One, inevitably Decker will catch me and pass me. That's cool.
Right,
Let's
Chris,
hope that we can find the most efficient way for that to happen, right? What I don't want is to lose a lot of time in the process. So thinking about where he might catch me, thinking about, you know, how I can facilitate that overtake in a way as to not lose a lot of time, and then two, really hoping that he and Leo pit before me, because I have never led a lap in any Sunday night Skippy race. So the Skippy races we've done for years, that I've done, you know, some of them, obviously not all of them. Certainly never led a lap in the F4 league. So I'm thinking to myself, there is a championship point for a lap led. Please Leo pit before me. Please Decker either pit before you catch me, or if you do pass me, please pit before me, because I really want that championship point. Honestly, it's not even about the point. I just want to say I've led a lap in this league ever. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at this point. He's clearly catching me quick. I was hoping he would do it here on the back straight, but the gap's a little too big. So yeah, it's kind of a mindset at this point. Facilitate the overtake in a way that helps me the most.
Position.
So Decker's caught us up pretty good at this point. I was hoping again he was going to do it on that back straight, but the gap just didn't work. So at this point, definitely thinking front stretch is going to be where it needs to happen.
Car right.
Looked like he was going to try to push it there. Thankfully, he decided otherwise, because that would have been pretty much the worst place possible, I think. So yeah, looks like we're going to have a nice, easy, clean pass here. Going into turn one. Gonna push it, but as soon as he gets pretty close, you're gonna see me back out just a touch to facilitate it, make it easy, and try to stay in his draft. Did lose a couple tenths to John behind us, but you know, the primary goal there was to not lose so much that he's within a second. I don't want him to be in my draft, and thankfully that we were able to keep. So able to keep more than a second. Super positive there. Decker's now in front of us. I know I'm just on pure pace, like it's going to be really difficult to just stay in his draft, but I'm going to kind of do everything I can there to use as much of it, you know, while I've got it, and just take advantage. John doesn't have any drafts, so if I can stay in Decker's for any period of time, I'm going to gain a couple tenths along the way. So So as the
Okay,
two
Chris,
leaders
15 minutes left,
do
that's
their
15
pit stops
minutes.
here, Leo and Decker have jumped into the pits. I'm definitely noticing in this moment that I'm about to take the lead, and I was definitely fist bumping a little
We're
bit.
running on fumes, mate. Coming to the pits at the end of
Great
this lap.
time to have
Box
two of
this
my best
lap.
laps of the race
You're
at a
leading.
28.2 and a 28.3. Really kind of a perfect scenario for me. So both of those guys went in. I led my first ever lap of this F4 league, but honestly of any Sunday night Skippy event over the last 3 years. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased realizing that P3 is very much in play, which would be my, again, first podium ever in any
Pulling away
Sunday
from the
night
guy
Skippy
behind.
event.
The gap's now 10 seconds.
So yeah, I'm just doing everything I can here to have a pretty good in lap, knowing that I'm about to make my pit stop. Thinking of all the things that I need to do to ensure that I don't make any mistakes here in my pit. So make sure to get my limiter
Very little
on.
fuel left. In this lap, box this lap, please, Chris.
Yeah, this is definitely tense moments in the race. So critical to not make any mistakes. Pit entry here is a little strange, so going to take it slightly conservatively as to not make any silly mistakes, and then see where we come out.
Pit lane speed limit is 37 miles per hour.
Pretty good pit entry. I feel like I blacked out when this actually happened, so being able to go back and see it now is pretty useful. That was actually a pretty solid entry.
Pit exit's clear.
Alright.
P3.
So we definitely gained some time in the pits. Definitely pushed it a little too hard getting into turn one there. Thankfully had a nice big gap. Decker and Leo are off doing their own thing as usual. Jason behind me at 2.7 seconds. At this point, I'm thinking, I just need to make sure I'll check my overlay at some point. Just make sure that after a lap or so that I'm not going to need any more fuel. Make sure that all of that went as it should. And yeah, I've got a 2.6 second gap to Jason. Adam has now shown up in the relative, which is, as I mentioned early in the race, that was something I was curious to see. His pace is more on the level of like Decker and Leo, so he certainly could be dangerous by the end of the race. So keeping tabs on him, but I felt like with Jason and John, while also very fast, I felt like in this race, we were all pretty much on the same pace. So I didn't think that on pure pace alone, Jason or John would catch me. I felt like as long as I don't make any big mistakes to let them in, I was in a really good spot for P3. And if Adam goes wild here towards the end, maybe P4. But yeah, 3 seconds with I don't know, probably about 10 minutes to go in this race. The timer's a little off, so it's about 10 minutes. I was feeling pretty good. This is definitely the part of the race where the pit stop's done. All the work's really been done. All the question marks have been answered. You're sitting in a nice gap at P3. This is the part of the race where it goes purely mental, and not to suggest that other parts of it are not mental, but this is you by yourself for another 10 minutes or so. Stop looking in the mirror, turn the mirror off, turn off the relative, turn everything off, and just focus forward. That is the mindset that you need to have. It's certainly the mindset that I need to have. And yeah, it's truly just you in the car by yourself. Do your job. Don't make any mistakes, and bring it home.
Yellow flag, caution. There's an incident in red man corner.
Anything like this, any kind of interruption to the, your thought process, it's where you lose time. It's where you make mistakes. So, don't want to see any yellow flags. I don't want to hear anybody in chat. You'll see me turn off the in-game voice chat. You'll see me turn off the mirror here at some point, and just yeah, focus forward. Try to hit my spots. I turned off the mirror, I muted chat, and unfortunately Jim brings a little bit of the negativity into the mind, right? Like, you know, this guy's catching you up. I don't even need to hear that in this moment. Honestly, I need him to shut up. I just need everything to be quiet. I just need to focus. So, I wish there was a way to easily turn that off. Maybe there is. Maybe I should look into that. But, yeah, like, everything I've got is about me and the relative to Jason. And I'm just hoping that I can keep that about where it is for the next 10 minutes of this race. And try to eliminate anything that makes your mind wander or makes your mind think of anything else. And to be very honest, like, I was thinking of like everything but the race right now. I was thinking about how literally in the last 3 years or so of the league existing, I've never been in this position before. I was thinking about how I legitimately had a chance to get a podium for the first time ever. I'm thinking about everything other than what I should be thinking about. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I don't know what to say. A 40-minute race with a short and, you know, hectic pit stop in the middle of it. So not to say that it's much of a break. It's not like you got pace laps, you know. It's a long time. It's a long time to be with your own thoughts, and it's a long time to focus and not make major mistakes. And yeah, it's a challenge. It's a massive challenge. So there's a lot going on in my head at this point. Really hoping that I can finish it, bring it home. But yeah, doing my best to silence everything on the outside and just focus. Well, at this point, I've definitely noticed that Adam has overtaken Jason. My nerves are a little high. Make a pretty big make a pretty big mistake there in that corner. To the point that I actually felt like I really should put the relative on because he's catching me up, and this could be a race here. Make another mistake going into the hairpin there. I think I said relative. I meant mirror. Turn the mirror on because he's getting pretty close. And then I thought to myself, you know, no, yeah, yeah. I shake my head here. No, turn the mirror off. Focus up. It is what it is. You know, this is the closest I've ever been to the best finish I've ever had. So I'm just gonna turn the thing off and go. And if he catches me up, so be it. But I'm focused forward. I'm not thinking about anything behind me. So turn it off, head down, and just pump out these remaining laps.
Fastest lap for Decker, 127.54.
I wish I could describe exactly how I felt on this final lap.
Right, Chris, one more to go. Keep it
My
together,
heart
we'll be on the
was
podium.
pumping.
Your lap time was at 129.
I wanted Jim to shut the hell up.
Running on fumes, mate.
I wanted all overlays to go away. I wanted nothing more. No sound, nothing. Just 100% focus. Knock out these corners. Kind of one quick check. Look at that relative one last time to see where he was, knowing that with half a lap to go, a second and a half gap, it's all on me at this point.
Very little fuel left.
It's coming through the final corners. We are going to finish P3. Best finish ever. Super excited. I'm going to apologize in advance. My fist pumping gets aggressive here, and I'm going to guess that.
2 minutes to go. 2 minutes.
So I was very, very happy with that result. Never in my life have I wanted my webcam active more in that moment. But yes, I'm fist pumping. I'm super excited. Super pleased with the result. So hope you guys enjoyed it. It was something. It was something. I'm very happy with that. Very proud of that result. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate all the comments, the views, everything. So keep those coming, and I'll keep making them. Catch you guys later.